The new angled soles have gotten a lot of interest over the last several months due to their unique design and their lofty price point. I have been skating them for the last 3 months in all kinds of different conditions. I've made over 20 videos here on the channel skating them, and in this video I'm going to share what I like about the $400 angled soles and some of the things that I don't like. For some quick background on the company, it is skater owned by David Radford and Sean Carter. They sought to design a sole plate that you could achieve perfect balance on ledges. As we know, most sole plates are at a 90-degree angle, and so they can limit your ability to really lean over the ledge and keep your weight centered over the ledge and skate it and grind it for longer. Well, angled soles seeks to resolve that. The design of the sole plates are a patented technology, and they're machined out of a proprietary UHMW material, which is known for its long-lasting durability and its very fast sliding characteristics. Right now, the company has 3 different boots that it's offering its sole plates for: the Razors SL, and it's just the sliders, which is why they're a little bit cheaper than the others. They also offer them for the Them Skates 909s and the Factions, which are the ones, of course, I'll be reviewing in this video. Here on the channel, we did a live interview with the owners of Angled Soles and asked all the questions from A to Z, all the concerns, and I encourage you to go check that out if you're interested. I'll link that down in the description. But one of the biggest concerns or biggest questions people have is, why do they cost so much? And really what it boils down to is that they really want to take care of their riders and their team, and so a big chunk of that price point goes to supporting their riders and getting them new gear. I didn't mention it earlier, but I just want to include that they do plan to come out with Mesmer angled soles sometime here in 2024. In addition to the positive side of the sole plate being angled to help you lean over on ledges, the negative side is also angled to help you achieve the same thing. The sole plates have 3 different surfaces: the sole, ledge angle, and the angle protection. And as its name would imply, the angle protection is there for cess slides, it's there for slide outs, etc., to help preserve that ledge angle.
Okay, so we're first going to talk about what I like, and then we're going to get into a little bit about what I didn't like. So they did send me 2 pairs, and full disclosure, they did send me these. I didn't buy these with my own money, but stay tuned to the end because I will let you know, do I think they're worth it? Would I spend my own money on these? So stay tuned to the end. But these are a second pair that they sent me. What I liked, first off, upon unboxing these, is that you can tell they take a lot of pride in the machining of these. The finished product is really, really nice. It looks really, really good. And the big thing, I mean, it's one thing for a product to look at, it's another thing for it to fit well. And I will say that the fit, that was the first thing that I noticed, is that the fit on the boot is really, really good. No real gaps. I mean, it hugs the boot really, really well. So that's great. And even beyond that, the Factions here, as you can see, have 8 different mounting holes. I don't know about you, but with third-party products or aftermarket products for skates, sometimes it doesn't quite line up, especially when you have 8 different opportunities here for it to not fit. And I will say that with these, they bolted right up, everything aligned up perfectly, including, of course, the UFS bolts. So that was great. Fitment, fantastic. Whoops. Another thing I like a lot about these is the weight. Compared to the stock Faction soles here, the weight is almost identical. So that's definitely a selling point as well. And as far as aesthetics go, I think they did a really great job of keeping it simple, clean, and they just look nice. Another thing I like a lot are these sort of wheel indentions that allow you to sort of max out your wheel size, or at least give you a couple more millimeters on your wheel size. I did talk to them on a call about what the sizing would look like. I know that I've been skating 60mm wheels this whole time. I've been skating either the BEK Wake Shetman wheels or the new Cymatics Nils Janssens wheels here. So I've been skating 60s. I haven't skated anything bigger. My understanding is that you can probably fit a little bit, get a couple more millimeters out of the sort of wishbone styled stock Faction sole plate. But regardless, I've been skating 60s and it's been great, but I can't really speak beyond that. One of the biggest things going into this was the durability, because you don't want to spend $400 on a pair of sole plates for them to wear out really quickly. And I'll say that I've skated the crap out of these on a bunch of really gnarly ledges, a bunch of very rough surfaces, and so far they've held up pretty darn well, I'll say. There's a little bit of rounding at the angle for sure, but overall, in terms of durability, this is my left foot, so this is the one that sees the most action, maybe all the action, because my right foot is hurt, and I also don't do a whole lot of switch tricks very often. Yeah, as far as durability, they've held up pretty darn well. Scuffs and scrapes to be expected, but been impressed with the durability thus far. So the whole reason behind these sole plates being angled is that on square ledges like this ping pong table, you can torque it over, kind of lean over the ledge to keep your body weight centered over the ledge to be able to slide on it longer instead of just sort of peeling off of it prematurely. And so how did I find the actual angle performance over time here on the angled soles here? And I thought it was really good. A lot of people say, or a lot of people's concern is, hey, this is, why are you paying so much for a pre-worn out sole plate? Why wouldn't you just not break in your sole plate? And that was my thoughts going into this as well. But what I found is that there is, for me anyway, a pretty significant difference in feeling. It's a lot more deliberate, a lot more intentional. It doesn't feel kind of smushy like a really broken in sole plate might feel, in my opinion. And so being able to lean over on square ledges like this has, for me, been a game changer and has been really good. My grinds are a lot longer. They feel a lot more natural. It takes some time. One thing I found for sure is that it takes some time to really get used to and trust leaning over on ledges, because a lot of times if you do that with normal sole plates, you just whiff right off. But with these, you really have to kind of recalibrate your brain a little bit to trust and almost feel it or skate it a little bit more like you would a rail, leaning over it and being able to get right on top of it. Another thing I like a lot is the backslide groove. It's sort of this unique funnel groove. It's not just one continuous radius, as I understand it. It's sort of like a multi sort of radius funnel. And I think they really hit the nail on the head. At least with the Create Originals here, it mates up really well. And you feel super locked in on rails and ledges with this backslide groove. And I think because of the angled, your ability to pivot or do like pivot grinds isn't the best angle for it, but to be able to do pivot grinds like that is really good on these, I think, due to the backslide groove and the sort of angled sole. So I've found that pivot tricks feel really good and feel really natural. I don't do a huge amount of set slides, but I definitely do some. And as far as it's compared to the stock sole plates in terms of set slide performance, I would say that they're right on par with performance. But I will say that I do more set slides now because I'm not nearly as afraid of wearing out the sole plate on set slides. What's also really cool about these sole plates is that when you're turning, we've all probably had that experience where you're turning a little bit too sharp and your sole plate catches and slides out, especially on the stock faction soles, which are quite large. I've had my fair share of catching and slipping out. But because the soles aren't angled, this was sort of an interesting, takeaway for me, is that I don't think I've had one slip out since I've been, at least not that I remember, one slip out due to too steep of turning. So that's really cool, because sometimes those slip outs can catch you off guard, and sometimes those are the worst ones. I mentioned earlier that the negative side of the sole plate is also angled, just like the positive side, so that you can lean it over on square ledges and achieve a longer grind. And the times that I've done it on square ledges, especially one of the first sessions, I think it was my second session, I challenged myself to do a negative Mizu as far as I could. And so on square ledges, the negatives are really good. And just to touch on stiffness and responsiveness in terms of the sole plate itself, I personally haven't noticed much of an advantage, but maybe I'm just not that sensitive to it over stock. But in terms of stiffness and performance or responsiveness, I personally have not seen a noticeable difference. Now I'm going to get into some of the things that I sort of didn't like. And when I say I didn't like, it's really situationally dependent, that you're going to have to assess sort of your style of skating and what you like to skate to determine if these are going to be right for you. So if you know me, I like to skate a lot of rails, and I skate rails very often. I've skated a lot of rails in these, and by and large, it's been fine. As long as you're using good technique and you're leaned over onto the rail as you should be, everything's cool. Like 99% of the time, if you didn't tell me I was skating angled soles, I literally wouldn't know. I would just skate them like normal sole plates on rails, and I wouldn't know any difference. They lock on just fine. The only issue that I found is that a couple times on switch ups where I'm taking, and my body position probably isn't perfect because I'm setting up for the next grind, I'm taking some of the weight off one of the feet, off the sole foot, and there has been a couple times where it's slid out. And obviously that's probably a combination of using poor technique, taking the weight off the foot, and maybe some in part due to the angled sole. But basically, just keep in mind that you want to use good technique on rails with these and you'll be just fine. Again, this has only happened to me probably 3 times in the last 3 months, but it's just something I noticed, even if it was super rare. Now, I mentioned earlier that the negative side of this whole plate on the inside of your foot is also angled to help you stay on ledges, square ledges, longer. You can get over it like a rail. But when I have skated rails and tried negatives and done negatives, I've been able to do it, but it takes a lot more leaning over. You have to be a lot more precise. I have found personally, it's a lot easier to miss the negative and get kind of whiffed off of it. So that's a little bit of a trade-off for me that I've found. But are negatives possible on rails? Absolutely. You just have to be pretty darn good with your technique. Now, this isn't something that I necessarily dislike, but I think it is something that they could consider improving, is that on the stock Faction soles and a lot of other soles around now, they have this nice padding that helps sort of dampen the landings, dampen the noise, etc. I think they should consider adding that to their future sole plates, in my opinion. Now, given all that, all the positives and negatives, the big question is, would I spend $400 of my own money on these? And the answer is no, I wouldn't. Largely due to my financial position. Do I think they make sense for some people? Absolutely. You know, if you have the financial means and you really like skating ledges and you want to improve your square ledge skating and make your grinds longer, then yeah, it could make sense for you. I think they're great. They're very durable. They'll last you a long time. I mean, I skate hard and I skate a lot. And so these things have held up really well. And I'm excited to skate these again. But personally, could I justify spending $400? No. Again, would it make sense for some people watching? I think so. But let me know down in the comments what you think about the angled soles. Have you skated them? And again, I will link to the live stream that we did with that. We really go all the way in depth on the angled soles, the idea behind them, why they cost what they do, and from just top to bottom. So again, I'll link to that down below in the description, so go check that out. But thank you so much, Angled Soles, for sending me these. I've had a lot of fun on them. I've done a lot of tricks here in Barcelona that I didn't expect to be doing on a lot of different stuff. So they perform well, it's durable. There's some drawbacks. I will link to all the information about angled soles down in the description below if you want to go check them out. Thank you for watching. Make sure to give the video a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Consider subscribing if you're not already, and I will see you on the next video, Rollerbooters. Take care.